Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Midday News. The headlines. Police advised to arrest CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI for publicly peddling tribal politics. COVID-19 leads to a spike in mental health related cases. Join me with the Midday News in detail after this commercial.
Our achievements in the health sector. As the Patriotic Front government, we have recruited and deployed 27,000 nurses and other health personnel across the country to provide the much-needed healthcare, including the fight against COVID-19, child healthcare, as well as maternity care to all parts of the country. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
And now the Midday News in detail. United Party for National Development Alliance Media Director Tawo Kawana has challenged law enforcement agencies to arrest CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI for inciting hatred against the Tonga-speaking people. Mr. Kawana notes that the laws are clear on tribal politics in the electoral cycle, hence it is only ideal that people driving such ill agenda are tamed. He regrets that Mr. KAMBWILI has been publicly peddling tribal politics at the time when the country is mourning Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Mr. Kawana told a media briefing in Lusaka Tuesday that the UPND alliance is above tribal politics and that it will want to steer inclusive development in the country.
Zambia believes in what is called unity in diversity. Despite having many tribes, it has been and will always be one Zambia, one nation. Why politicians find it fashionable to demean other tribes is mind-boggling to many who understand democracy and good governance. But it can only be for political expediency, of course. The church has guided and advised politicians to stay away from tribal politics and focus on issue-based politics of informing the people how they intend to initiate development. However, tribal talk has been prominent in the build-up to the August 12 general elections. United Party for National Development Alliance Media Director Tawo Kawana is disturbed that the PF has continued to peddle tribal politics.
At a time that we are mourning the late President Kaunda, who stood for nothing but unity and hated tribalism with a passion. And KAMBWILI claims he's a student of Dr. Kaunda, that he learned a lot from Dr. Kaunda. So far what he's showing, he has learned nothing from Dr. Kaunda, because everything he's doing, Dr. Kaunda was stood against. So we are calling on the law enforcement officers to arrest CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI, because this is provided for in the law. But he cannot behave like that. He can't behave with impunity.
Mr. Kawana feels the health officials have been unfair in enforcing COVID-19 measures, as he feels it is aimed at preventing the UPND alliance from campaigning. He has since challenged the police, the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Health to explain why they have failed to take action against the PF for defying COVID-19 guidelines.
These things while we are told not to do that. And all this is designed just to basically stop us from campaigning. We are challenging the Ministry of Health, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the Ministry of Local Government to tell us what this is all about and why they are taking no action and why these institutions have grown cold feet to implement the rules of law.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
A charcoal trader of Lusaka province has lamented how business has become almost impossible for him due to the low supply and high demand of the commodity. Mr. Ndiyo Mugala has told Camnet News that the demand for the commodity is high, but people cannot afford as the prices are too high for people to manage. He has added that charcoal traders are forced to increase the cost of the commodity to the general public because of its high purchase.
Zambia's high unemployment levels, going the informal way to make ends meet, has become the only survival for many families countrywide. Currently, the informal sector in Zambia employs 90% of the labor force and has grown rapidly in the recent years, with approximately more than 1 million informal businesses. Among the informal sector are the charcoal sellers, of which its demand has grown over the years. Ndiyo Mugala, a charcoal trader in Garden Township of Lusaka, has lamented how the business is going, especially that the demand is high while the supply is low.
Malasha yadula chadulisa malasha bitengo kufa kumweika bila boma isira. Number 2, boma nayo ilipilisa mtengo ukubwa malasha. Transport yadula. So tikafika ku muntu kutumuuza tisaka iyi ukule mtengo uona zakani. So tizamu kulisa na ife mtengo ukulu. So wamena pikira uja ndiye muntu wamena futika na marasha. Ife wameti wa business stifutika na marasha hii.
Mr. Mugala has also noted that many people depend on the commodity for different uses, expressing worry of the high costs.
Wamena futika maningi. Ife watigulisa ni business chikadura na ife tidulisa. But wopikira wamena sevenza for drama zake akufu.
Charcoal is currently one of the most essential commodities used both for commercial and domestic uses, despite its effect on the environment. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The opposition movement for multi-party democracy, MMD, has disclosed that serious commitment will be directed towards education sector in view of ensuring sustainable development in the country. MMD chairperson for education Dr. Nelly Kangwa explains that the MMD will uphold free education at primary level when given the mandate to govern the country post 12th August general elections. Dr. Kangwa says the MMD will revise the education curriculum in order to prioritize early childhood education and skills development. She adds that infrastructure development in the education sector remains vital in order to improve learners' experience.
And when it comes to education, we will bring it down to where the child is starting from the early age, like from the age of 4, we want to tap into the skill. So before we even start talking about, money issues or who's going to pay what and whatever, we need to understand that every person created by God has got an inherent gift. So what we are going to do with the education is that we are going to bring in a curriculum where we are going to tap into the inherent gift of every child, and there's going to be a curriculum specifically to attend to the skills that every child is going to have, and there's going to be teachers who are specialized to begin tapping into those children's giftings, so that we keep improving that skill, because we have a lot of young people who have got inventions, but because the curriculum does not attend to such things, you find that every child has to get to qualify, has to first know how to count the legs of a mosquito. As much as all those things are important, but we are going to be very deliberate to bring about giftings, because that's where inventions comes from, and that will be the first thing that we are going to introduce.
In other news, Chinama Hills Hospital psychiatrists have revealed that the hospital has recorded an increase in mental-related illness among teenagers since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out in the country. In an interview with Camnet TV Tuesday, clinic psychiatrist Lubinda Hamwendo revealed that the COVID-19 has a direct and indirect impact on mental-related disorders among the young in the country. Mr. Hamwendo explains that the young people are overwhelmed by the changes in their daily lifestyles because of the factor that have come with COVID-19.
Mental health often associated with alcohol and other substance abuse, is rampant among the teenagers, with most common disorders in Zambia being acute psychotic episodes, anxiety, and active disorders. Worldwide, pandemics also put a toll on people's mental health. In this regard, the COVID-19 pandemic has put more pressure on people, resulting in high numbers of mental disorders due to increased anxiety. This is evidenced in more reports on suicide cases, drug abuse, and other forms of mental disorders in society today since the incoming of the pandemic. Lubinda Hamwendo is a psychiatrist at Chinama Hills Mental Health Hospital.
With the increase of COVID-19 cases, we are seeing more of mental health issues. So people are likely to be more depressed, because we see that one of the treatment plans for things such as depression and anxiety are socialization. So if a person is confined to their house instead of going for work or going to school, we see that the depression and anxiety that they have might become worse. Then we're seeing also an increase in people who have things such as schizophrenia and other mental illnesses. This is simply because the judgment of these people is distorted, so they are less likely to comply with the COVID regulations that have been put forth by our health institutions.
Lubinda Hamwendo further stated that children, just like any other human being, are expected to observe the public health guidelines, hence distressing their mental health.
And we have also seen an increase in the amount of teenagers. Teenagers, I mean people who are still going to school, people who can be in colleges and high school abusing substances. This is simply because they are having a lot of time to themselves, so they want to use this time in taking part in frivolous activities, and these frivolous activities sometimes can be the use of drugs. So these are things that we are seeing in mental institutions with the rise of COVID-19 that we are facing as a country.
Mr. Hamwendo has meanwhile urged all mental health institutions to engage youths in various sessions and recovery activities, which he says is key in stabilizing mental health wellness among young people during this COVID-19 pandemic. Alex Chishimba reporting for Camnet TV, Lusaka.
Well, that news item brings us to the end of Camnet TV Midday News, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Police advised to arrest CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI for publicly peddling tribal politics. COVID-19 leads to a spike in mental health related cases. Thank you for joining me. I am Precious Mzeya Sakaleji. Remember to always wear your mask, avoid crowded places, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe and good afternoon.